excited about today's call. Make sure that your sponsor knows that you're on this call. Hi, Beck. I saw that we were both logged in as table jewels. Uh, and then make sure your sponsor knows that you're on this call. Make sure that 2 or 3 people on your team, even if they all have to listen to the recording, doesn't matter. Make sure that and then what I would say is a great response is to message them afterwards and be like, oh my gosh, you have to listen to this recording because I got this from it. It's a great thing to both talk to your downline about, but also talking to your sponsor. And the reason I say sponsor is because I think it's really important hi, Jana, if your sponsor knows where you're showing up, what you're learning, what maybe they're missing out on, and the fact that you are leaning in as a leader, you are lifting your leadership lid, and that you would love for them to come alongside you and lift theirs as well. We're going to give it just a minute, and then I think Beck is going to kick us off with a little bit of housekeeping, and then we are going to get right into masterclass with our master diamond today. I'm so excited.
I can't wait. I was so excited when Andrea told me that Jana was coming to speak because I love Jana and I love her story, but I think you guys are going to love because you're going to get to hear a lot of her heart as well. Let me go ahead and take care of just a couple of things because I know what it's like. We shared something, I believe, on Saturday. And if you're like me, you're like, I've not been checking the team page since Saturday. So we will keep talking about this. I went live this morning in the team page, but we are going to launch a new Facebook group. I know. We're going to pull it out of our customer page. We love Gut Glam, but we're going to launch a new Facebook group for a new 2-week challenge that starts a week from today. We're calling it Active April. The great news is it's perfect for people who need a reason to start moving their bodies, or maybe for some of your people that just love to move their bodies, but also it's not a detox challenge. All we're promoting is for people to purchase slim and active. They can do the active tri-pack, active twin pack, or they can do slim, active, and hydrate. And we're just going to get people drinking the drinks, moving their bodies. They're going to tag their friends and sponsors. We're going to take care of the posts and giveaways. Our leaders are going to be involved. So it's like a really simple challenge to ask people to be a part of. Andrea and I have both shared graphics. Here's the deal. Put the graphics on your phone and then share every day this week. Show your face in your stories. Say, I really want you to come do this challenge with me. Let's move our bodies. You don't have to be like a professional fitness coach. Just move your body. If you're walking your dog, you're drinking your drinks. That's all it takes. We're going to do some fun giveaways. It's going to help onboard your new customers and your old customers who are, they've got tons of product there because they haven't been consistent. Invite them to be a part, invite your leaders. So make sure that you are promoting that in your chats and whatnot. And that starts next Monday in a whole new Facebook group page called Active April. If you're not a part of it, just let us know. We'll invite you so you can invite other people. I think that's the biggest burden of our sort of admin stuff that we needed to take care of before we get to hear from Jana. I'll pass it back to you, Andrea.
Okay, I'm really excited about this call. I think there are just certain people in life that you get to cross paths with. And what's funny is Jana and I get to sit on planes together a lot and buses. We travel because we live really close to each other. So if we're doing a Diamond Star, Super Saturday, any kind of a trip, it always seems to be that we've laughed because we've gotten off planes, but wait, you were on this literally sitting behind us or in front of us the whole time. We usually are sitting really close to each other and we're on shuttle buses to and from airports. So I feel like that's actually where we talked the most is on shuttle buses to and from. But just a little bit of background and some fun facts for y'all to know. Jana's father is actually someone that my husband remembers growing up listening to at school assemblies and stuff. So there's a little bit of a thread of legacy here already, and just who she was raised by, spoke truth and scripture, and is passionate about Christ, and bringing other people to know Christ, and so I think there's just that thread of that. And there's also a funny little story that her husband is a Richardson police officer, or he's in the Richardson Police Department, it's kind of changed roles, but He's actually gotten a call before from someone who's actually been in our house and was like, do you know this person? Like, we're in their house. I think an alarm went off, and there's plexus stuff everywhere. And he was like, because I do actually know I know whose house you're in. So there's just like neat threads of just Jana and I consistently like kind of going together. And what's neat is we aren't on the same team. I think we don't connect until Celeste as our upline. But there's so many layers. In fact, last night when I was telling Joe, who was speaking, he had so many amazing things to say, and he was kind of like, I kind of want to listen in. I was like, I know, but he was also saying like they're just neat. There are so many neat people in this company that you actually don't even care whose team they're on. You don't care who their upline or their downline are. They're just neat people that you get to do this business with. And Joe and I would say that the Hootens are those people for us. Just God loving, like Jesus preaching people who we've gotten to just live this life with the last 10 years. And he was like, he kind of grew up in the whole GCA, CCCA like group. So there's like this whole connection for my husband too. So I say all that to tell y'all that there is true love and camaraderie across teams in this company. If you haven't gotten to experience that, just stick around a little longer, go on a few more trips, and you will find that. I'm gonna let Jana tell her story, but I want you to know that Jana's story is like, because she has lived it out loud the last 10 years, like things that God has brought into her path, and stories that she did not have planned, her chapters that were not part of what she would have ever put in there. We as co-partners in this business have gotten to live this right next to her. And so as she shares a lot of her story, I just want you to know, like her story becomes like a little bit of the fabric of our own businesses as well. It actually kind of um as we are going through business, and you think you're just earning an income, you think you might just be earning 300 or 500 or $1,000 a month. As people come into your life in this business, it will kind of change the thread of how this actually, the tapestry of what God is weaving here. And I want you to know there are threads in my story and Becky's story that include Jana's story, because it's so powerful. So I want you to just soak in what she has to say, write down questions. If we have time at the end, we'll definitely do Q&A. And Jana, we're excited to hear what your story is and kind of what some things God has brought into your life and wisdom that you can definitely share with the group.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm so excited. I just feel so honored to get to speak with you guys today. When Andrea asked me, I was really, really excited about this. Love seeing my sweet friend Angie on here too. We are definitely kindred spirits, have a lot in common as well. So I love you, Angie. Again, my name is Jana Hooten. I am a 3-star diamond with Plexus. And I truly like it is. Andrea was, we were going back and forth talking last night, and my stories, it's just, one that sometimes people can kind of dance around just because it's a difficult story. And sometimes people don't know how to address it, don't know how much you want to share of it or not share of it. I am a sharer. If you're around me very much at all, I'm one of those, like, I need to get it out kind of girls. I never really had a problem with stuffing things down. That has not been my problem. So I love to share. It's a difficult story to share, but what the aspect that Andrea asked me to share it from is honestly one of my favorite things to share. And so I'm very excited about that. So I do got to back you up a little bit, tell you a little bit about my life. I was raised by a preacher. My dad's been an evangelist my entire life. And so raised in a preacher's home. And Andrea and I like grew up similar areas. We really do have a lot of similarities in our life. And when she told me one day, she was like, Joe remembered your dad preaching. I was like, it's just crazy, how things are all intertwined. And I do remember when the police officer, it was one of Steve's best friends. He calls Steve, he's like, I got an alarm call from this girl, this person's house, and I go in and he's like, it's definitely a handicap, accessible home. And there's plexus stuff everywhere. Do you know who it is? And I was like, oh, it has to be Andrea. So anyway, it's kind of funny. So that was, growing up, my dad was an evangelist. He travels all over, still does to this day. Everybody's like, when's he going to slow down? I'm like, if he slowed down, I think he would die. So he tries to take breaks, but his mission in life is to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. So he will do that until his dying day. So um my husband and I, high school sweethearts, we met in high school. Actually have a really unique story. Steve asked me out. Um, it was the weekend after his best friend had passed away. So that is it's a unique part of our story that I've never really shared with a lot of people, but his very best friend was in a car accident, and it was obviously extremely tragic at the time. Went to a very small Christian school, as Andrea had mentioned, and I'll never forget it. I mean, it was happened yesterday. And that weekend, Steve asked me out, and so unique. It's just it's interesting to see God's hand and the situations you walk through early in life, and how things do come back around to help assist you when you go through your own heartaches later on in life. And that was definitely one of them. We got married really, really young. I was a month of 19 when we got married. And so very, very, very young. I still look back and ask my parents all the time, what were you thinking? They were like, well, we knew it was the right thing. So, so we said yes. They also knew I would probably, bulk against them if they told me no. But anyway, we got married really young and then had babies young. I had my first baby when I was 21, ended up having 3 daughters, had my first 2 years apart, then from my second to my third are right at 4 years apart. So 3 daughters. Steve was very outnumbered, but still is just the ultimate girl dad. And he is a great girl dad. He really is. It's so funny because Steve is very quiet. He's a police officer. He's tough. He's a hunter. And so he never saw himself raising 3 daughters. I can remember so many times emotions would be high in our home. There might be a little drama. And he would just be looking at me with his eyes this big. And I'd be like, what? What? And he's like, I just don't know what to do. I'm like, you're doing great. Just keep moving forward. Keep loving him. You're doing awesome. So, we, living just ultimate American dream, I guess you could say, had a home, had 3 kids, but yet, like most Americans, very much living paycheck to paycheck. My husband decided to go into police work. Before that, he had actually been a home builder before that. Decided he was never happy, never felt fulfilled in his job, never felt like he was really doing what he was called to do. His dad had been a police officer, his brother, and he knew that that's what he was supposed to do. He decided to go that route. We tend to do things really backwards. He changed total careers right before our third baby was due. And so, along with that came a cut in pay, a totally different lifestyle. I mean, just, him going to working very odd hours, working nights, just a different life. But at the same time, he knew it was what he was supposed to do. I knew it was what he was supposed to do. We both just felt like he was obeying the Lord and obeying his calling, what he was supposed to do. So we were definitely living that paycheck to paycheck life, though, plus some, racking up credit card debt, doing, all the things that have actually become somewhat normal in the society. That's actually really sad to me that it has become so normal, but just become kind of a way of life to sometimes just survive, right? So, for years, Steve would work 60 to 70 hours a week, work his normal 40-hour a week shift, but then he would go work, 20, 30 hours working part-time jobs as a police officer. So this became normal for us. I mean, just very normal. On top of that, he was working odd hours. So he was working nights as his shift, but then he would come home and sleep for a little bit, get up and go work a part-time, or, you know, work a part-time, then come home and sleep. I stayed just worried about him. I was always concerned about his health, worried, just worried about him because I never felt like he got the rest that he needed. I never felt, I was just concerned about him. But then also it was hard on us as a family. It was hard. While he did his very best, he would show up to games where I would look over and he'd be dozing off to sleep. But he tried to show up as much as possible. He tried to be there. I think my girls would definitely look back and say that anything they had going on, Dad found a way to show up, but at the same time, he was still working 60, 70 hours a week. So I was constantly looking for something. I was working part-time at the time. It was what we had agreed on. He wanted me to be home with our kids as much as possible. So I was working just a part-time job, like 2.5, 3 days a week. That allowed me to be home most of the time. I was able to go pick up my kids from school, take them to school, get them to all the practices, get them to everything that they needed to go to. And, still bring in a little bit of extra income, but, it wasn't much. So I was always looking for something. I had tried a few different network marketing companies. One was probably literally you've never heard of it. It was a home decor business. And I love home decor. I love decorating. It's my favorite little my favorite little pastime. And so I kind of got into that. That burned me out quickly because if you've ever been in a business like that where you have to place the order, all the inventory comes to you, you have to divvy up orders and then literally go deliver orders. Like, that's not fun, you guys. That is just the definition of miserable, because it is not fun, especially when you're trying to get 3 kids in the minivan along with all the product. Like, that is just not fun. So I got burnt out of that real quick. That didn't last long. I realized that really wasn't going to work real well. I tried another company that most of you probably have heard of, and I can remember working this business. They sold a lot of skincare. I think at the time they sold supplements. This has been a long time ago. They were known for their skincare line. And so I was selling this product. I was selling it, but y'all, to this day, I've never received a paycheck. I'm still a little bitter about it. I've never received a paycheck from that company. I can remember going to who now I know is my upline. I didn't know at the time that's what it was called. Going to them and literally saying to them, can you tell me how I get paid? I need to understand the comp plan because I've sold a lot. Like, I've had the parties, I've made all the phone calls, I've dropped off the samples, people have ordered, and I haven't got a paycheck. Why am I not getting paid? And I can remember my upline, it was several levels up, just kind of looking at me and literally saying to me, I've never had anybody ask me that. I don't really know how to tell you. So when I tell you I'm a comp plan queen, I love to share our comp plan because I believe that if you know how you get paid, then you know how to work. So if you don't know just at least the basics of our comp plan, go learn them today. I have people on my team that's like, I'm not a numbers girl. I don't know how to do that. You don't have to be a numbers girl, but you do have to just understand the basics of how we get paid, because trust me, you're going to run across people like me. And it was one of the first things I asked when I got into Plexus. I was like, Sunday, tell me how I get paid. I need to know how I get paid, because if I know how to get paid, I know how to work. So anyway, that's just a little sticking point with me, a little tip there. Know the comp plan. It's so important that you do. So that company, obviously, I didn't stay with them too long. Found out later that it's interesting how the comp plan worked at the time. It may have changed since then with that company, but literally only your top, like level 6, 7 above you was making any money. And you had to just keep working and working till you got up there. And then finally, I guess all the cash came in. I don't know how it worked because I never got there. So, I was just a little burnout. It's not like I tried it for years on end and burn out from the time put into it. I was just feeling kind of frustrated with my experience with network marketing so far. So I um fast forward to the spring of 2013. So it's been right at 11 years, which I can't even believe it. I was thinking this morning, I know Plexus is celebrating their 16th anniversary, and I have spent over a decade of my life. Think about that, a decade of your life with this company. And I told Andrea last night, like, I am so forever grateful for this company, so forever grateful. So to have spent over a decade, just like, I don't know, that resonated with me this morning as I was thinking about it. But 2013, the spring of 2013, my parents had come home from a meeting. So I mentioned my dad's an evangelist. They had been at a meeting where he was preaching in Florida. So they come home, my sister and I are with them. They're talking about the meeting, and they're telling us that the music pastor at this church and his wife they both had lost over 50 pounds. They were both driving Lexuses, and they were just kind of, actually, I'm saying it, much more excited than my parents did. They were kind of nonchalant about it. They were like, oh yeah, like, yeah, this couple that we've known forever, like, this is what they're doing. Well, I didn't know this couple. My parents did, but I did not know them. And mom looked at us, only a mother you can look at her daughters and be like, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking right now. And my mom, not knowing the company, not knowing anything about the products, honestly, just kind of living in a little bit of fear here because of her past experience in the 80s with the Dexatrim days. Remember those? I think that's where her head went. And she was like, listen, Jana, listen, Amber, I don't know what these products are. I don't know if they're safe. They could be really dangerous. I can see you're thinking about finding out about them. Don't, maybe you shouldn't. This might not be a safe product for you to take. FYI, my mom's now senior Ruby with Plexus, so she eventually came around. But they were starting to, after they could see us thinking about it, they were definitely thinking like, hey, you guys, maybe you shouldn't get into this. It might not be safe for you. Well, because we are such obedient daughters, and because, we always obey our parents. The moment they left, Amber and I got on the computer and we started Googling, trying to figure out, what is this product? When they told us that the couple was both driving a Lexus, I mean, that kind of went over my head. I still was a little like, I don't think anybody does well with these companies. I don't think they really make any money. I just wanted to know how they lost 50 pounds. At that time, my youngest was, I guess she was 9. And I was, tell everybody I was still carrying around my baby weight. So from my 9-year-old. So I was still trying to lose weight, trying to figure that out. I had started off that year just really just finally ready to do it. I had lost a little bit of weight by the time my parents told us about this couple, but I was still looking for, I really, looking back, I was kind of looking for that missing tool in my toolbox. At the time, I didn't know to call it that. I just knew I needed something. I needed something more than just trying to count calories, trying to move my body. My body was needing something more. So anyway, Amber and we were pretty skeptical. My sister's Amber, she's a diamond and Plexus also. But we were pretty skeptical. We were so skeptical that, and probably so broke, honestly, that we ordered a 7-day trial to split. We didn't even order a 7-day trial each. We ordered one to share. So I ordered it. It came to my house. We're a little bit sarcastic family too sometimes, if you know us at all. I got the pack. I put it in my purse. I knew I was going to see Amber that day. And I said, Amber, I got the goods. I put it in my purse, and I think I dropped 20 pounds already. Again, we were very skeptical of the products. So we were just talking about this the other day. She says that we each took 3 packets and then we split the one, because as sisters, you got to do things real fair, So I guess that's what we did. I don't really remember. But Evidently we liked it enough that we did go on and we ordered you know, a 30-day supply, but we were ordering retail. We did, it's a long story who we ended up ordering from, but we were just ordering retail. Nobody even told us at the time that we could get a cheaper price. Um, anyway, that's another story for another day. But we just found where we could order it, got it retail, and we were just ordering our Slim and Accelerator, and we were as happy as could be. I tell everybody I finally did lose the baby weight. Plexus was not a magic pill for me. It was not a magic, like just drop 40 pounds in a month or anything like that, but it was the tool in the toolbox. I realized very quickly that it was exactly what my body needed. I just was like, wow, like this product just helped me to kind of kick it up a notch. So that's how Plexus came into our life. We bought retail for months. Around November of that same year, my friend Sunday, who I had grown up with Sunday. So Sunday's dad was my pastor for like my entire life, pretty much. So that's how I knew Sunday. And she started posting about Plexus. I start seeing Sunday posting about Plexus. Didn't think a whole lot of it at first. I was like, I'm just going to keep buying it over here. I didn't know there was even a cheaper way to buy it. And so I finally reached out to her and was like, hey, like at this point, I had lost over 30 pounds. And I said, like, Plexus has been a huge part of that. And she was like, oh, wow, that's awesome. And so ended up through conversation with her, I ended up signing up and was able to buy wholesale pricing under her. I finally had someone help me understand this. So I signed up under Sunday. I told her right off the bat, I'm not doing this as a business. I'm happy for you. That's awesome. But I just want to continue taking the products. Thank you for telling me I can get them cheaper. Well, Sunday did something kind of magical, in my opinion. Sunday added me to her team page. And I know team pages are different, they're a little bit different now than they were back then. But one thing that I still remember to this day was her team page was just chock full of people sharing their wins. I mean, people constantly sharing about their wins in their business, and they're ranking up and they're making money, and even their wins with the products. And it was really inspiring to me. It was really eye-catching to me. And I am competitive enough, just competitive enough, that it sparked something in me. And I was like, hey, I know a lot of these people because I went to church with a lot of them, or used to go to church with a lot of them. I was like, if they're making all this money, like I'm missing out over here. Like, I think I'm missing out on something. So I called my sister. I said, hey, I'm going to do this as a business. You need to come do it with me. You can only tell your sister that, right? So she's like, okay. And so I called Sunday. Sunday met us at a Starbucks. We tease her to this day. She showed up at a Starbucks with a laminated comp plan chart. I have it still here in my office because I cannot bring myself to throw it away. I mean, she was serious, it was laminated, you guys. And she sat down in that Starbucks that night. And again, like I told you, she showed us how we got paid. I walked away that night feeling a little overwhelmed, feeling a little like, whoo, that was a lot of information. Did not still completely understand how we got paid. Understood enough though, that I was like, I know how to work this. I know how to do this. Like I can do, I mean, I didn't know everything, but obviously I learned stuff new every single day, but I knew enough to know how to work. I knew the name of the game was just to share Plexus. Like to this day, that's still the name of the game. The more you share with, the further you're going to get. So I knew that. So I started that was the very end of November. In December, I went all in. I was like, I am sharing. I'm going to see how far I can, go with this. What can I do? By the end of December, that the month closed on December 31st. I sat there on New Year's Eve, and I sat with pen and paper. You guys are learning a lot about my personality. I sat there with pen and paper, and I figured 2AT what my paycheck was going to be. I had made right at $1,000 and a few cents. $1,000 in my first full month. Do you know how life-changing that was for me? I sat there and I just cried. I could not believe it. I remember thinking, even if I never do this again, this extra $1,000 means so much to me. It means so much that I was able to accomplish this and help so many people. And so I remember when I got back then, they sent us paper checks and I got my paper check in the mail. I couldn't believe it. I mean, even then my husband was like, you're not doing anything illegal, are you? I'm like, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure this is all on the up and up. So, first full month, just blew my mind. So obviously I just kept going. I was like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to see how far I can run with this. If it lasts 6 months or a year, whatever, I'm going to keep going, and here we are, getting close to 11 years later. My sister joined me. Obviously I had other people join me. I was not shy about sharing Plexus. I was brave. If I could do it all over again, I would be even bolder. I would share even more in the beginning. So I still to this day, I look back on that, I was like, man, I just can't get over how God brought that into our lives. I can't get over it. And I can't get over how I just felt like that one act of obedience has completely changed our life. I mean, completely changed our life. So I can remember early on sitting in a Plexus meeting and hearing a Diamond at the time. I was not Diamond at the time. And I remember her saying something that to this day just has stuck with me. And she talked about how she's really built a team around community and how that people will stay for community over everything. And some of you're like, well, duh. Like, yes, for me and my pen and paper, comp plan chart loving kind of heart, that was news for me a little bit of like, well, I mean, I know community is important, but I'm more of a business. I'm more of a strategy. I love strategy. I love helping people strategize. So I took that to heart. And that became my mission, building my team. My mission was to build community. It was a challenge for me. For other people on my team, like my sister, it's not, but for me, it is a little bit more. And so I just remember thinking, above all, I want to build a strong community. And that's what I look back and I attribute a lot of our success to that. I feel like over the years and to this day, we are still working to build a strong community. Some of the community's still here, some of them's not, but we are always welcoming new people to our community. So I'm so grateful for that nugget of wisdom that somebody dropped into my life that they probably had no idea that it would have the impact that it did, but it greatly impacted my future business. So I was able to go Diamond in January of 2016. I remember it so well. I remember sitting in my living room late that night when it happened. We got in the car, met my sponsor, Cindy, and her family at midnight at IHOP and celebrated. It was quite a day. Steve, by that time, had quit all his part-time jobs. He was just working his 40-hour shift. I remember one of our girls asking, like, it seems like Dad's home all the time now, which was funny to me because he was still working 40 hours. But, when you go from working like 70 to 40, that's a big, big difference. So honestly, that entire year, it felt like, I felt like we were living a mountaintop experience. Like I look back on that year and the financial burden that we had lived with, what felt like our entire married life, felt lifted. Our kids were doing really well. Steve was home so much more. I felt so accomplished. I felt like I was loving my business. I love working. I loved all of it. I loved the community that we had built. And it felt like a mountaintop experience for about a year there. On January 7th of 2017, that's when everything changed. That's when my life took a complete 180. It is still crazy to this day how in one split second you can go from feeling like the mountaintop to just the lowest of the low valley. On that day, for those of you that don't know the story, it was Super Saturday. And at that time, Super Saturday, for those of you that haven't been around for a while, for years, we did Super Saturdays all over the country. So there would be like, what, 10, 15 locations all over the country and even in Canada. And diamonds would travel to all the different locations, and you would sign up and travel to your closest location, and it would be a live event. And so that's where we were. My mom and my sister and I got up early that morning. We were going to the Dallas location. We stopped on our way. I remember stopping on our way. There's so much I remember that I could keep you here all day just sharing of that day, and I won't do that. But we stopped at a dry bar on the way, which if you don't know, that's where you go and like get your hair blow dried out. So we did that. I can remember going to the bathroom because my makeup looked terrible that day. And I'm usually not like picky person about that, but it was all blotchy and weird, and going to the bathroom and redoing my makeup. And it was just, I felt off that entire day. We got to the hotel where where the event was held. Got in there, and it was great seeing a lot of people we haven't seen in a while. Plexus is always a big, anytime you get to an event, it's a big reunion. And I was sitting about on the second row. Sitting on the second row that day of that event. Midway through the event, my friend Kim came up to me and she's like, Jana, we need to leave. We need to leave. Well, my husband and our youngest two daughters, and Kim's husband and their daughter was on a little daddy-daughter getaway camping trip. To make a really long story short, there had been an accident that day, and there was an ATV accident that our girls were involved in. And my middle daughter passed away immediately from the accident. So I did not know that right away. I just knew there had been an accident, did not know. It was mass confusion for a long period of what feels like a long period of time. So much of that day and the days following, it's weird because so much of it is such a blur, yet so many things I remember so clearly. And the Plexus community just overwhelmed us. I mean, that's an understatement. Just our community, not Plexus, our church, our family, overwhelmed us with love and support. But obviously, the worst day of my life, worst time of my life. And I was asked the other day, somebody said something the other day to me about something they were walking through, and they just don't think God will ever heal them. They don't, know and trust that He will heal them. And it got my mind to thinking, this is just a side note, I don't actually feel healed. I feel to this day, it's been 7 years, I feel a little bit more like I've just learned how to continue life with the wound. The wound is still there. It still hurts. Some days the wound still bleeds, but I've learned how to walk and to continue life while carrying the wound. And I don't, I want whatever God wants for me. And so if He wants to actually heal that wound, then I want that. But I also know that, one day it will be healed. I know that one day it will be healed. So that was January of 17. Obviously, like when it comes to my Plexus business, obviously took a long break from that. In September, well, no, it was actually August of 2018. I can remember taking a bath, not to get too personal, just, normal bath. And I remember just washing my body, and I felt a lump on my breast. teeny tiny, felt like a teeny tiny little pea. Didn't think much of it. I thought, like it's probably just some sort of cyst. I've obviously, under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and thought it was just something related to that. Finally got it checked out. They were like, we need to biopsy this. To make another long story short, ended up being diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. So you talk about just having that period where you are literally, I say I was in complete surrender, not out of a like, wow, what a godly person you are, but out of a like, I'm tapped out, God, I can't take any more. So it's all on you. Like I can't take one more step. I can't do anymore. I remember just asking him, like, just please, please, just lead me to the next doctor, lead me to the next step, because I can't take anymore. I can't do it. And I look back on it and he did. He was so faithful just to, I'm sorry, my dogs are barking. He was so faithful just to lead me on the path that to this day I believe was the right path, the right steps that I was supposed to take. So walked through that. I had to go through chemo. Then I went through surgery, and then 6.5 weeks of radiation after that. So, I came out of that feeling really down and out. I mean, just really you talk about feeling like you have been put through the ringer. I mean, exhausted in every aspect, mentally, emotionally, and definitely physically as well. And just trying to figure out, where do I go from here? Still attempting to also be a good wife, be a good mom. I mean, my youngest daughter, who was in the accident, she was 12 when the accident happened. So, I still look back and she just turned 20. And I'm amazed at who she is, amazed at who she's become, in spite of the things I went through while trying to raise her through some of her most formidable years. And so just so thankful for God's faithfulness. But I came out of that whole, well, some days I still feel like I'm coming out of it, if I'm just being real. Like some days, there's days it feels like it just happened, and also then days that it feels like it was so long ago. So, I just take it day by day, one day at a time. But I look back on my business, and I'm just so incredibly grateful, like I said earlier, for how God brought this into my life. I really wasn't looking for it. Again, I was kind of burnt out of network marketing, thinking that nobody made any money with this. And, but God brought this into my life. And again, just that one act of obedience, how it led us, because a lot of times I have now been, I would say, privileged to talk to so many families who've lost a child, so many people who have gone through a cancer diagnosis. And one of the top stressors in their life is the financial side of it, because you go through losing a child and then work just expects you to be back in a week. And I personally can't imagine having done that. I don't know how you do that. Like, I don't know how you do that. And I also know that one of the top reasons for bankruptcy is medical bills. And so I went through that cancer journey. It is not how I wanted to spend my money, but I'm so grateful it was there. So grateful Plexus was in my life, and that income was there to be able to literally save my life. So I'm so grateful for that. But I know Andrea wanted me to touch on just kind of making that comeback, and how do you make a comeback when you've kind of gone through the worst? Like you're down and out, you're just flat on your face, and you don't even know how to make a comeback. And I look back on it a little bit. There's not one certain season where I was like, that's my comeback. Like, I decided on this day, I'm making a comeback. Because when you go through grief and you go through trauma, it's such an up and down journey, you know? And so even if I woke up one day and said, this is my comeback day, tomorrow it may not be. And so I know for me personally, it became an outlet for me. It became an outlet for me to step out of my grief and be able to focus in on others, be able to help others, be able to literally just pour into something else good, you know, be able to accomplish some good. And so in some ways it did become an outlet for me. But also if you look back, my team would probably tell you that like she never really went anywhere. Yes, she take long breaks, and to this day, some weeks, every once in a while, they'll check in on me. Hey, are you okay? We haven't heard from you much this week. I'm like, yeah, it's just been a more challenging week. So they know and they understand that. But I also think that sometimes we put too much stock into needing to make a comeback. And if that's you, or if it's someone you know, I just want to give you some really, really just simple advice. I want to tell you, don't build up the comeback as much as you are in your head. You don't need to. Sometimes we make the comeback harder than we did when we first started working the business. And I think that's so sad because you don't need to make a comeback. You just need to start back. You just need to go back to work. That's it. You don't need to provide an explanation. You don't need to necessarily, there might be some people on your team that maybe you do need to provide an explanation for, or maybe even an apology for. I don't know the situation. But I'm just telling you, as the general audience that's watching you, the people that you are trying to market to, you don't need to provide an apology for them, in my opinion. You don't need to tell them, hey, I'm so sorry. I stepped away from my Plexus business. Here's the 11 excuses why. You know, you don't have to do that. You just come back. Like you just come back. And I think too often we get too worked up over trying, how am I going to make this come back? How am I going to do this? That we just way overthink it. We way overthink what we're doing and what we need to do to move forward, when in all reality, we just need to come back. Just go show up. You just need to start showing up again. So that's really, really simple advice on how to make a comeback. But I have talked to too many people that they're like, you know, you're right. I just need to start working again. That's it. I just need to get back to working. So that's my little take on making a comeback. You don't really need one. You just need to get back to work. So the last thing I just want to share with you, and I just hope it's an encouragement to you. It's a verse that I've kind of clung to, and I hope it's okay to share this. I just think it's kind of become my motto in life. My motto in life, on days when I get up and I don't know what to do, on days when I'm just like, I have days where I still like, I wake up and I, for some reason, something will come and I'll just, you know, grief just sets in and you are just like kind of knocked down again. And in those moments, it's those moments that God reminds me, hey, just do the next right thing. Just what is the next right thing that I've told you to do? And so this verse means a lot to me. It's the verse I go back to, 1 Peter 4:19. And I like this version of it. So then, hang on, give me 1 second. Let me gather myself. So then, let those who suffer according to God's will entrust themselves to the faithful Creator while doing what is good. I love that verse because that's my verse. That's my life. It's while we're suffering, and while we may not understand the suffering, we may not I may never on this earth understand why things happened. And if we could wrap our brain around God's sovereignty, well, one, that would make us God, and I am not God, and you don't want me to be God. So We can trust his sovereignty, though. We can trust who he is, and we can trust his plan. And we can entrust ourselves to the faithful creator that he is while doing what is good. So I just want to encourage you in this business. So often, whether it's you needing to make a comeback or you're just feeling overwhelmed, maybe you're just like, I just don't know what to do next. I feel overwhelmed in this business, or maybe you're underwhelmed. Maybe you're like, I got nothing. Like, my business is nowhere. I have no business. I just want to encourage you, just do the next right thing. Just figure out what is the next right thing. Obviously that applies to every area of your life, but it definitely applies to your business. So when I sit down to work, some days I feel the same way, and I feel I can get overwhelmed. I can get, there's so much out there, groups you can be, new coaches and new everything. That is awesome. I take advantage of the ones that I feel like I'm supposed to take advantage of. But at the same time, don't ever overthink what you're doing. This business is all about just sharing the gift of plexus. You're just, the more you share, the more successful you're going to be. However sharing looks like, whatever sharing looks like for you, just get out and share it. And I promise you, you're going to see more results. Don't overthink it. Don't think, I don't have, all my 7 systems all in line and in place. It's okay. It is okay. That will, whatever system that you need, will eventually come. Just share plexus. So, and I just want to encourage you today, whatever it is in your business, most of the time we know the next right thing. I think that's what gets us, is we really do. We know what is the next right thing that we're supposed to do. And I just want to encourage you to do it today. You'll go to bed feeling so much more at peace, a clearer head, knowing a direction for where you're going with plexus. And you're going to wake up tomorrow and just do the next right thing again. So that's all I got.
I mean, that's all. We probably could have sat here for 2 hours and like dug into so many different things. And thank you for sharing the story. I know that, I know it's also hard. It's heavy. But also God writing the 2014, 2015, into 2016, that mountaintop into your life had y'all so financially ready and your team ready. Something I really remember, Jana, is that when everything happened, January of 2017, when Allie passed away, and y'all are literally in grief, and a grief that probably felt never ending. Like there was no, like, other than Christ, there was no light at the end of the tunnel. It was literally like, just how that you had a team already built that could carry your business through those dark times. And I remember your team rallied so hard because of 3 years of community built. Maybe 3 years of strategy. I'm never gonna knock strategy. I love me some strategy. Pen and paper all day long. But because of the community you had built with your team and the leaders that you had grown, and the things that y'all had already established, and what God had established through your obedience, then was coming to fruition through the grief. And then probably right as you kind of felt like, okay, I'd be interested. I don't remember like how, if you kind of started to like show back up on social with plexus in any way before your diagnosis. Like if there was kind of like almost an overlap of like, okay, like like, I love that you're like, there's never really a comeback. It was kind of like, come back and I'm busy again, and come back and this is happening. Or even, and Angie can probably attest to this because I watched this with Sarah, is during your cancer journey, you feel like, okay, I'm in a good place all of a sudden. And then you have a treatment, and then you have a surgery, and then you have a doctor's appointment, and you get knocked back again before. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm good. I'm actually healthy today. I've actually done all the bed rest, Angie, that I was supposed to be doing. And I'm actually not pushing myself too hard, all of those things. And then all of a sudden you're in a good place. You can share again. So for any of y'all, and it may not be as big as losing a child, a cancer diagnosis, it may be something smaller in the fact of it's going to be a daily thing, or, I'm, for us, like, I'm moving a mother-in-law in, I'm having, a child, change, go off to college, or all these things will happen, right? And there are things that will happen, and you can kind of show back up, and then you kind of disappear for a little bit because life happens, but then just showing back up. And I just think there's so much wisdom in just doing the next right thing when you have that space. Jana, did you ever have a hard time? I've heard people say, I feel bad sharing when all of this heaviness is happening in my life. Was it hard to share plexus while also knowing that, like, there's a heaviness of grief and diagnosis and all of those things happening?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I could do a total separate call on this. But I feel like it is so unique. That I don't know how it would help a lot of people, but you want to talk about just struggling sometimes to mentally share plexus for a couple reasons. Um After Allie passed away, like I mentioned early on, I'm kind of an open book, and I shared my grief journey very openly on Facebook. I was very open with sharing. And so I actually developed somewhat large following on Facebook um from that. And so when I was ready, when I felt like, like I feel like it would be healthy for me right now and good for me to share plexus again, I did have that thought of like, oh my goodness, I gained all of these followers as a result of losing my doctor, and so now, like, so again, I've had to talk that over with a lot of people. Like, I've talked it over, got a lot of peace about it, but there was that hurdle. And then honestly, you go through breast cancer, you're going through a massive health journey while selling health products. You want to talk about having a mental issue there with sharing. um so I mean, I yeah, so there have been a lot of hurdles to overcome with sharing plexus again. A lot of conversations I've had to have with some much wiser people in my life of like, you need to help me break this down. I need to make sure, like, I always want to operate my life with the utmost integrity. And like, I want to make sure that I want a good name also. I want to have a good name. And so I never want anybody to ever, I can't control what other people think. Like, I know that, but I also, I never want it to be perceived wrong. So lots of mental hurdles, but the thing I didn't do was go out and tell my whole audience my mental hurdles. I didn't have to go out and post all of my mental hurdles. Um, and so, it's crazy to me, the issues that we develop in our head, and especially my personality I can create all the bad scenarios before they ever come to be. I can tell you what all the bad situations are, the possibilities of every bad situation, every outcome. Um, and then, the majority of them just never happen, right? They just don't happen. And so instead, what has happened is, so I have started working my husband's leg. He is Ruby. I'm hoping he'll go senior Ruby this month. And that whole team is basically strangers that I developed relationships with out of a result of me sharing my grief journey on Facebook. And I have made some precious friends, some now precious coworkers as a result of that. And so I'm so thankful for that. Like, they're so thankful. They're like, we're so thankful you shared. We trusted you because of what you shared, and because of how honest and vulnerable you were, and we knew we wanted to partner with somebody like you. And so, I just I think most of the time, the fear that we have around sharing is, majority of the time, it's just fears we've created in our head and nobody else is thinking. And if they are thinking it, it's a very, very small amount, and those probably aren't the kind of people we want to do business with anyway, just to be honest. So anyway, I don't know
I
if that
think
answers your
that's,
question.
there's no, yeah, that's exactly what I was, that's perfect. That's exactly what I was asking. I think there's no one better to speak to that, because there really is two different things of kind of that you've had to go through and kind of work through. What does it look like to work my business in a grief world where people feel like I should still be grieving? And then also in a diagnosis world where people are still thinking, well, are you sure this is still the right product if you've got breast cancer while taking Plexus? I mean, I've walked through that a little bit with Jana, with my sister Sarah, with Angie. I know she's walking through that now. So it's a lot of so many different.
I had to finally realize, like, I know I'm partnered with the right company. I know 100% I partner with an honest company, and I know we have high integrity, high quality products that are truly helping people. And I know that that is not why I got breast cancer. So, once I knew it and I was able to say it out loud, seal it in my heart, what anybody else thinks, that's really, I mean, that's on them. I know the truth. And so when you know the truth and you can come to grips with that truth, it helps you just to be able to share so much more confidently. So if, I don't know that it's ever, if it's been questioned, it's been done behind my back. It's never been done to my face. So
You're like, and
just
leave it over there. I don't even want to know about it.
yeah.
Jana, thank you so much for today. Thank you for your heart, your story. Thank you for just showing up in hard, difficult ways, but also like such a light and a joy. Like I look forward to every single plane ride and shuttle bus that we're on. I will say, if you are on a trip with the Hootens, there's a good chance Steve's gonna be sick. There's all kinds of things that have happened. I mean, if the I just God's gonna do so what God's gonna do, right? And he's gonna just challenge every single turn. Don't think it's been easy the last couple of years for her either. We literally went on a trip a year ago. Is the appendicitis? Is that what it ended up being? Yeah.
His appendix ruptured while we were
While we
there.
were in
Yeah.
Phoenix.
And
For
y'all
this
were on the
ride.
bus with us to the resort. And I remember on the plane and on the bus, I kept looking at him. Of course, he's kind of quiet anyway, but he was uber quiet, and he was kind of turning gray at that point. And he was like, my stomach just doesn't feel good. My stomach. Well, we ended up in Phoenix for a very long time because he had a ruptured appendix.
But the company came alongside them and like made sure like everything was the sweetest, as sweet as it could be and as comfortable as it could be. So I'm just saying, if you're gonna have tragedy, it's a good thing to be a diamond before all, because it does help when
Plexus is so good to us. So good to us. Yes.
so okay, I hope you all feel blessed. I hope you feel encouraged, and I hope you feel like a little bit of, okay, I know I can do the next right thing. Everything else might feel heavy and hard, but I can do the next right thing. If Jana can do it, I can do it. We can all do it. We'll see y'all later. Y'all go look at the eclipse. It's happening in Dallas right now. We'll see y'all later. Bye.